in the live feed. Just popped up these watching.
Drive on the wrong side. Just live while I can.
So what that?
Stay here in the moment, 'cause I'm free to be my own man. Spending money like I just got paid. $100 bills, tell them keep the change. Come on. Pop a bottle, about to make it rain. Let me give you something now to celebrate. Come on. And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good, good. Oh, 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 I just feel so good. I see the world through my thrift store shades, rose-colored lenses and a fake gold frame. Come on. Playing old rock songs on an air guitar, posing for your picture like a superstar. Yeah, come on. And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good, good. Oh, 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 I just feel so good. If you feel it, just dance along. Keep the feeling going on and on. If you feel it, just dance along, dance along, dance along. Yeah. Yeah, if you feel it, just dance along. Got to keep the feeling going on and on. Yeah, if you feel it, just dance along, dance along. Oh, I just feel so good. I just feel so good.
Hello.
I just feel so good, good, good. I just feel so good, good,
Okay, let's start. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to. Let me just get rid of this music. Sorry. Oh my goodness, there's always. Well, there goes the fancy intro. So, good evening, everybody, to another episode of Carpet Python Radio. Please let us know if the sound volume, I think we're running a little bit low, but you guys can join the party. Welcome, everybody. Colin, Darren, and Brent. Welcome to the show, guys. Why is there no sound?
Evening all.
Yeah. There you go.
There's quite a lag on Facebook.
Oh, is there?
Oh.
But don't look at Facebook.
Hasn't come up yet.
Don't look at Facebook. We'll just go, as long as you can hear me,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know, that's all that
I'll
matters.
go have a look at YouTube.
And I'll put the sound louder. I'll put
It's the first time we've done this.
yeah, so this is a first. And I'll get Jared in as soon as we go. So,
Oh,
Brent,
yeah, on YouTube, it's fine.
can you hear us, Brent? Why is
Yep, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Okay, so this is so Brent's down at the bottom right of the screen, Darren on the bottom left, Colin top left, and me on the top right. And I'll call Jared in once we know everything's going hunky dory. It looks like we're streaming okay. Does look like there's a bit of a lag going. I don't know why. Maybe it's oh, there we go. Let's not all just stop. We can might as well talk about something. Are you guys there, ready to rock and roll tonight?
Definitely. What are we chatting about first?
Oh well, I guess everybody can do a little bit of an introduction of themselves. Colin's totally distracted there with something. I don't know what.
I'm just checking out all the feeds, seeing if it's working. It's working.
All right, well, there's
You've probably had too many feeds, Colin.
You're right there.
yeah. Well, Darren seems like he's there, right there. Brent, can you hear us all right?
Yeah, all good. I just had to get off the Wi-Fi because I think my kids are all playing Roadblocks or something and destroying the bandwidth. So
Oh well,
now I'm good to go.
the 3G's the
Yeah,
3D.
maybe that's what it is.
So don't get distracted by the video. If we don't, I wouldn't even look at the YouTube. Just Colin will check the questions and stuff like that. We'll run the questions like that, and then we'll just give a little bit of a background of all of us. And I mean, every people know me and what I've done in the over the last few years. Pretty sure they do. But Darren hasn't been on the show. Brent was on the show last week. And Darren, maybe give us a bit of a background about yourself, mate. Just what are you getting up to these days? What we involved in the last few years? What's your big project that you're working with at the moment, and sort of what's happening in your life at the moment.
Big project. There's always too many projects. That's the problem, and you become a hoarder. Obviously, the project has been something I've been working on for many years. Unfortunately, things don't always go your way, especially when you start using multi-gene combinations. Getting the odds you don't always get. Like I actually had a clutch of double het pepper albinos last year, but never got the 1 in 16. It's just the way it goes. And this year, out of 3 clutches, I got 1, possibly 2. I'm not. The other one's a really freaky looking animal.
Yeah.
But it needs a bit of time to colour up. It does have solid red eyes, but it has striping and is almost patternless in other portions of it. So it's I not 100% sure what it is yet, and I like to be positive before I tend to go, oh wow, look what I've got. This is what I've done. So I'm doing that, working with polygenics with a lot of stuff, just line breeding black and gold jungles and jags and zeb jags and that sort of stuff. A few bredli projects, obviously. Brent with the sold him some bredli het albinos from the albino Darwin to the wild type bredli. I've also got caramel, het exanthic bredli coming up the size this year. So hopefully I might see some ghost bredli and that sort of stuff this year. I know Joe Ball's produced some. They're quite stunning looking animals. I know his bredli male was quite a dark bredli, so it'll be interesting to see the difference. Mine's more traditional wild type bredli, so it'll be interesting to see in a polygenic sense the difference between how his dark male and how much influence that had over his exanthic, let's say exanthic bredli, compared to what mine will do. So yeah, plenty going on, plenty of exanthic stuff going on. Hopefully getting ghost jags and ghost zebs and things this year. But obviously the key project for me has and always will be the pepper project. There's some really, really cool, funky stuff that was, to be honest, quite unexpected out of the clutches this year. There's some stripe stuff and a lot of things going on. And when you take the founder animals, yes, you look at the silver peppers and they do have that striping on the back half of their body. But the original female that I had was paired to a pure wild type albino Darwin. Yeah. And yes, they do have some striping in them. It's not uncommon to see striping in Darwins. I produce them every year. Yeah. But some of the striping that has come out in these double hats is quite mind blowing. Some of it, it's really cool. Some are almost patternless and striped in just the wild type post double hats.
Tell me,
so
Darren.
I think it's a
Darren. Tell me.
Go on, sorry.
Tell me with so just to give people an idea, how long have you been busy with this project? Because
too long.
Because people
too long.
Because really people I know there was various factors involved in there, like why it's been so long, but I mean a lot of people think that they can just jump into this industry and just quickly make the triple quadruple gene animals, and it's just not the case. Both you and Brent have both, and Jared, I'll get Jared in now. We'll see how that goes. I just wanted to make sure everything's stable now. It seems like it's all stable. But both you and Brent have been involved in quite a couple of projects that's taken that long. But I think the silver peppers really, they were easy, like reproductive. Wasn't the original female a little bit of like? Didn't she miss a season or two as well originally? Early on?
The original clutch, the first clutch I produced was back in 2007. Yeah. Out of that, the pairing, they were just two wild type Murray Darlings, pure MDs. They produced 3 peppers. One pepper had a defective epiglottis, so it couldn't tongue flicker. I force fed that for 8 months, and it became a decision to have it euthanized because it never showed any food response whatsoever. And not only that, you kind of think, does it lead to a further genetic defect down the track? It's obviously born with added defects. We are talking about mutations here. Could that lead to a weakening of the line? So I thought the animal's got to have, a happy life, so to speak, regarding an animal that showed zero response to food. Didn't matter what I did for months and months and months. I actually got it to quite a decent size with regular force feeding, but it wouldn't even assist feed. You could put it in a smout and it just would leave it. And so I had it euthanized. The second one, this was in the early days of my depression without droning on for too long. I took one of Anthony Stimson's shows. The first one he had at not at Darling Harbour, at Homebush, sorry. And I wasn't well. I wasn't right in mind. When I came home, I put all my snakes away as you do. I discovered a couple of weeks later that the other silver pepper had gotten out. The show was in May, so it was gone in basically the middle of winter. I did find it, but by the time I found it, it was basically gone. It spent a month at a vet under treatment, trying to get it back, but never made it. That left me with one. It wouldn't eat. It used to get that up to size. The original pairing, it's one of those stories. The original pairing, they mated the following season. I recorded, I think it was 7 matings at the time. So in 2008, female never produced. Sorry. So yeah, so I'm not sure.
Okay, but that's I
Um,
know. I know we spoke about it yesterday, and we'll get you on a show just to talk about
yeah,
that
yeah,
peppers. You
it's a
know,
long story.
but you know it's important that the guys that are just starting out with especially the mutation side of things know that it's a long term. You know, it's a marathon. It's not something that you can do
Yeah,
in even 5 years is like what? That's like you know 5 years. If you're lucky, you'll be able to read your heads back to each other. Then you need to work on the,
yeah,
you
it
know, then
is.
you might get 1 or 2 visuals out of a, you know, especially with the stuff guys work with, you know, like 1 in 16. I mean, that's horrendous odds, especially, you know, when I was doing carpets, you know, like my average clutch size was like 14. You know, 14 or 15, it seems, for the way I've used to feed.
Yeah,
So I know you can get bigger clutches, but for my females, an average over the, you know, I had females that got like 38 eggs, and then I had females. The majority of females would have smaller clutches. I mean, that's like ridiculous number, you know. But to to hit the odds then, low, even 1 in 16 out of a 14 clutch is almost impossible, you know. So if you do get it, it's luck, you know. And I think the clutches that, you know, like I know a lot of guys have tried to get the double gene animals, and it's just, you know, the odds are are not always in their favor. Like you last year, you know, with the Murray albinos.
mm. Well,
Yeah,
that's right. You know, and if Jared gets in here, you know, he's one of the prime examples. People think, oh, I'm just going to get, you know, I'm going to put this and that and create, you know, even a caramel double gene. You're looking just for the single heterozygous form of the caramel. You're still looking at odds. You know, and when you look
yeah.
at Jared trying to produce a Moonglow, I mean, that guy's had the worst luck ever. I think it was like 7 or 8 clutches or something ridiculous over a number of years before he actually saw his first Moonglow. And I don't think people realise that it's not, when you look at those odds, 1 in 16, that's the chance each egg as it is fertilised has to produce that
Yeah.
mutation. And let's just use the albino peppers for that example. It's 1 in 16, but it's each time an egg goes through and gets fertilized, it's that 1 in 16 chance. So you have a chance of not producing any, and then the next year you could produce 5.
Yeah.
It is odds, and over perhaps 1,000
Eggs.
animals over
Yeah.
time, you will see your odds balance out. And it's no different to sex ratios in a club. It should be 50-50. But you can have a season where you get a clutch of 23 carpets and 19 are male.
Yeah. Hang on,
You
let
know,
me.
and it's just odds. It's just odds. And that's what holds prices up, I guess, when you start looking at, you know, moonglows and things like that. You know, they're not easy to get until you've actually got the animals to reproduce those mutations.
Let me
And I
just
think
quickly.
that for
yeah.
carpets is about to get a whole lot worse when we start looking at triple head recessive stuff, 1 in 64, quad heads at 1 in 256. It's going to get really messy in the next 5 years when some of these crazy combos are trying to get made. It's going to be a lot of eggs to try and hit that number.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's why I guess you look at with the mutations that he has in the retics, but when he has one clutch of, you know, 60, 70,
50 eggs.
80
Yeah.
retics in a clutch, you can see why the odds are much easier. But on average, a clutch of carpets is, you know, 15 to 20 eggs. Yes, they do have bigger and that, but, you know, to hit 1 in 256 odds, you know, you could go through 10 clutches before you see one of those animals. Or if you're lucky, you could get it on the very first clutch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me just quickly see if I can get Jared in because he's sitting there waiting for the call. Let me just quickly see if I can get him in. Where's Jared? Let's see. Let's see.
Jared.
I figured out. I figured out what was going on with the.
There's always one in the crowd.
Oh, Jared will get in either way.
Let's just quickly see. We should be able to.
So what other special stuff you got happening with the silver pepper, Daz?
Yeah.
What's your plans?
There's lots of plans. I actually started a few lines of polygenic combinations a couple of years ago, only because I wanted to, like, if you take away let's say the silver color, of the mutation, look at the pattern. I think it's a very cool pattern with the striping at the back and the speckling. And a lot of people tend to skip over the polygenic side of animals. And
Yeah.
I saw that for the first time. The first time I went to the US with you over at Tinley Park.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the albino ball pythons, they weren't just albino ball pythons. Not out,
No.
there are multiple different genetic lines of albino ball pythons.
They're
There's
crisp.
also,
Well,
yeah, but you've got high white ones, you've got high yellow, high contrast. You've got this variation of albino mutations within a line of albinos. It's something that I haven't seen much with out here. A lot of people go, oh, I've got an albino Darwin, I'm going to pair it with this, that, and the other. But no
Yeah.
one actually, there's not a lot of people out there that are actually line breeding specific traits within a single mutation in itself. And I thought earlier on, I'd love to introduce colours into the pepper line. And I have a theory. I don't cross anything for no reason. So I don't go, I've got a Murray, I'm going to put it with a jungle and see what happens. I personally, and look, if that's what you do, that's up to you. What you do with your animals, as far as I'm concerned, that's your choice. But to me, I like to see them actually having a purpose or an outcome or a long-term goal.
Yeah, I agree.
So one example is I put a pepper over a really, really nice black and gold jungle with the ambition of getting that really nice black and gold jungle color into a pepper pattern.
Yep.
So the first season, I actually have all those animals because you hoard everything as you do. And they already have really nice yellow. It's more a pastel yellow, obviously not a really bright, gold as some of the jungles people might see, and there's the jungle jags that I post up on Facebook now and then. But it has the beginnings of that line. Now, even though it's only a polygenic project, it has a long-term, might take, 3 or 4 generations, 8 or 9 or 10 years to actually get to where I want it to be. But you have to start it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I've started the project. I'm really happy with the way the animals are coming. The yellows in them are really, really nice. So hopefully this season I'll pair them. If I can get a pepper that's got that nice yellow background, I'll hold that and I'll keep putting it back and keep breeding it, trying to get that really nice, golden pepper, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All about the contrast in the founding animals.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think people have to think outside the square. But if you buy into a project or try to work on a project, you have to be prepared for the long haul. It's not, oh, I'll buy it this year. I mean, the amount of people, the message, if you've got an adult this, you've got an adult that, because I want to breed it this year. Yeah, you'll produce a clutch, sure. But if you produce constantly high quality animals, then you have to work the line. You have to constantly hold back the best of the clutch, hold those few animals back, grow them up to size, breed those. And as you move along, you can move on the adults or whatever, but you need to constantly hold back and better the line, and look outside the square, like I've spoken to people that want to work with marbles in Antaresia and want to make black marbles, but they're not trying to buy the darkest marbles they could find, they're just buying any marbles. But if you want to make black marbles, then find someone that has the darkest marbles. Like I think it's Marty Bahagia and Dave Evans are working with a white line. I think there might be some other guys around, and I think they're cracking looking at them. But it takes years. You've got to hold them back, grow them up, get 12 months size into them, pick the best of the best, and keep working on it. And that applies to
Listen,
still
let
breeding
me
much
just
Antaresia?
let me just see quickly if Jared, are you
I
there?
breed lots of everything.
Hang on.
Yeah, I do. I've got there's a whole stack behind me here. I've got.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Let me just check if Jared's there.
They're trying to get Jared. in.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Jared, you there? Hello, Jared. Hello, Jared.
Everyone be quiet.
Earth to J.
Jared. I don't think he's there. He's not coming through. Okay. He can hear me.
I
but
can
his
hear you, he says.
sound's not coming through for some reason.
You can't hear him.
No. Sorry, so just we'll figure this stuff out still. So it's the first.
Have you seen the marbled spot, Daz?
Sorry, Colin, what was that?
How the marbles, you have like a chocolate one, you have all sorts inside that marble gene itself.
Yeah,
Or
100%.
do you think there's more to it?
Oh, look, I just think it's once again, I think it's just polygenics. I think it's just a massive variation. And when you look at Antaresia and, you know, Peter Birch, for example, you know, he's got the biggest collection of brown snakes ever.
Yeah.
But variation those animals, and I think it's the same. You're just seeing a ton of variance in the marble gene, and you know, if you can point that in a direction, it's like albinos. You have a look at albino Darwins, and you know, Alex Leather's got some cracking stripe ones. I had a couple of pinstripe ones that I'm currently working on. You get banded ones, you get ones that are hot.